Good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Bertram. I'm with RASI, Restaurant Accounting Services. Appreciate you joining our tip share this week. Today, I'm joined by a new partner of ours, and actually, I think a really cool component of the industry that's established, but it's also up and coming and becoming extremely prevalent in today's restaurant operations. Joining me is Blake Myron and Charlie Kleiner from Branch App. They are an employer payments platform, really working within digitized banking for employees within the world we live in. And guys, I appreciate y'all taking a few moments out of your day to talk to us about what you're seeing in the industry and kind of how Branch has been positioning itself as a means to support not only the employer, but also, I think more importantly, the employee as well, to help them understand how they're positioned financially and how to really determine their own individual financial success. So thanks for the time today.
Yeah, Brad, thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here and share some of what we've been doing, and super excited about this partnership too.
Absolutely agree. So I appreciate it. So the questions, I guess, what changes have you witnessed over the last year in the restaurant industry? Especially as we look at how employees manage their funds, how they want to obtain their funding. I guess payroll is an old school process, but in the digital era we live in, how has that really shifted?
I think based on what we've seen, I think it's been very acutely noticed in the quick serve space and the delivery space in particular. The need for more contactless experience in general, whether that means their payments, whether that means the whole operation of the business, has really had to flip, and Branch has essentially been riding alongside in that evolution. And what we've seen primarily is a way to get paid in a more digital fashion, in a way to get paid faster, and God willing, in a way that doesn't come riddled with fees and costs associated with it. This demographic of worker is exposed, right, way more so to the broader impacts of the COVID era than others in a more corporate setting. So it's kind of those three things that have been, I think, really, really important to the worker, and something that we've been able to navigate really well. And so that can come in a few different ways, whether that means purely providing a banking situation for the unbanked employee, right? That comes first and foremost, especially now if you don't have access to a traditional financial institution. What options do you have? So answering that question has been huge. Initially, right when COVID first hit, and people were ordering pizzas like crazy and getting, Jimmy John's to go and all those sorts of things, but only paying with their card because no one wanted to touch each other or be around each other anymore. Stores were left cashless, right? And so how do we pivot to daily tips with no cash on hand? Well, that would mean literally in some cases, I'm a pizza shop. I got to sell some of my cheese to my fellow franchise owner to get some cash moved over from his store. Maybe I'm running to the bank twice a day. It was a nightmare. So coming in and looking for a free digital tip mechanism was absolutely crucial for literally both the operational side of businesses, but also for just livelihood of the worker. I'm used to getting paid every day. I don't want to have to wait 2 weeks to get my tips on my paycheck. So that's been I would say monumental in terms of the workers that we've interfaced with so far. Charlie, from a broader perspective, what else would you add in terms of what we've seen, what we're hearing, the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of the big points. And that's kind of the way we've seen things trending probably in the last 5 to 10 years anyway, that shift to fully digital payments, moving away from cash anyway. And then COVID just kind of made that skyrocket, right? We went from kind of getting fully to digital payments to nope, we're fully there. And so this is something that's not just going to return back to cash. People aren't going to go back to using cash as soon as COVID's over or we're all vaccinated or whatever. It's going to continue to kind of trend this way, and we need those solutions for those contactless digital payments moving forward. Blake, I think another cool thing that we've seen this year, obviously, especially the restaurant industry has been super impacted in terms of job loss and hours lost. And we've seen so many restaurants just continue to innovate and change as guidelines change. And that's been really cool to see, because restaurants are thinking, okay, what can we do to not only stay in business, but also get our employees working, get them more hours. And we've seen restaurants who never did delivery before suddenly hire delivery drivers and try that out. We've seen people create little pop-up outdoor restaurants so that they can serve people. We've seen all that curbside delivery. And so that innovative piece, getting all of the restaurant owners kind of thinking about like, what else can we do, has been really cool to see. And I think that's something too that we're going to kind of see continue after COVID. We've seen all these little additional options. I'm someone who, I like to go to a restaurant every now and then, but there's so many nights where I'm like, just get me takeout so I can eat at home in my sweats. I can do that at any restaurant now is phenomenal. And that's something that people aren't going to want to go away from again once COVID's over. So, that kind of innovative piece, as well as that move, that push to the digital contactless payments, both the customer paying as well as paying out your employees, that's never going to go away.
No, it's funny. I think it seemed for the longest time early on when you looked at Tesla and I guess those guys coming out, they got really popular. One, because it's a cool car, but alongside that, gas prices were extremely high. So a lot of people were gravitating towards an electric car simply because of the cost of maintaining and operating an internal combustion engine. I think the best way in a lot of cases to initiate changes is in some ways force it. And I think we've definitely seen that with COVID. And I myself, I bank through my phone. I don't go to a branch anymore. I don't want to go to a branch. I don't want to wait in line to deposit a check. I want to take a picture of it or have it just automatically brought over. It makes it a lot easier. And I guess talking about talent in the industry, have you all seen any restaurants, either independent or franchise groups, kind of leverage the options for, that they have outside of traditional banking environments to either attract or retain particular employee sets, or just kind of as a recruiting basis?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Brad. And that actually highlights a trend that we probably should have mentioned in that first section, where we're starting to see a lot of restaurant workers actually kind of leave the restaurant industry and go to those like gig economy platforms that are more on demand. And that's because they have more scheduling flexibility. But a big thing there is that they can do their job and get paid that day. They can get paid as soon as they finish delivering the food or picking up groceries for someone. And so we've seen this huge push from people working in traditional restaurants moving to those gig platforms. And I think we've seen a lot of restaurants starting to realize that and use these tools then. They're saying, if the gig companies are paying people every day, we have to do that too. We have to be able to provide their tips digitally every day. We have to provide them better banking solutions because these new upcoming platforms are doing it and they're starting to steal our workers. So that's definitely been something that we've seen a lot of our customers using Branch kind of as like, hey, you can get your tips digitally after every shift. You can get paid up to 2 days early. You can get fully banked if you're on or underbanked via Branch. And that's been a huge tool to not only keep employees around, but hire new talent as well. We actually had a member of our team a couple of weeks back share a photo with all of us of a billboard here in Minnesota with one of our customers literally advertising like, come work for us, you get paid digitally every day. Like, we were on that billboard. They were advertising that like you can get this same day pay. And that was one of the coolest things that I've seen, I think, in my time at Branch.
That's cool. Yeah, and from a marketing perspective, that's like the ideal situation is your customers talking about you, right? That's how you know you're impacting the industry and you're really kind of initiating a lot of that change.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say as well, something that I think has been trending for the last, 3, 4, 5 years is broadening the financial benefit offering to the employee in general, right? So the more the buzzy financial wellness conversation, I think was definitely on the uptick. And once COVID really started to hit, I think that really took center stage, where it became very much top of mind conversation for leaders and obviously HR organizations to say, wow, what else can we do to support our employees? Yes, as Charlie mentioned, competition's probably gotten stiffer. Yes, we might even have to do some things just to keep at a level playing field from what we were doing before, right? How do we continue to pay people daily that have been paid in cash historically? But also, what else can we do for our worker, right? Knowing that these 80, 85 million or so hourly workers across America have really been exposed now to financial unwellness, right? When situations like this hit, we don't have savings, stashed away somewhere to live on or to survive on. I need to look somewhere. You can only ask friends and family so much for assistance, and so ultimately, Mr. or Mrs. Employer, what can you offer here, right? I'm a full-time employee. What else can you do? And so it's new fintech offerings that have started to sprout up that are really working to tackle this head on, right? And do it in a transparent way that's equitable for the worker, so that they're not getting dinged with overdraft fees. I remember seeing a stat recently. I want to say workers today, or in 2020, that have been making around 25 or under $30,000 a year historically have had to pay around 10% of their income in banking fees.
Wow.
That's keeping a minimum balance, whatever the monthly service fee may be, or the traditional overdraft fees that come into play weekly for these workers. So doing things at an organizational level to offer your employees options to avoid that hit can be a world of a difference. So I think that's taken center stage. Branch has certainly been a part of that, and there's dozens of others that actually do it in a really good way, that truly serve the needs of the worker and not just the needs of the big institution.
Are you saying that traditional banking environments are taking advantage of their customers by overdraft fees to like $11 billion the last 5 years?
Oh, we've never seen headlines like that in the news, whether it's coast to coast, big players, small players. No, we've never seen big names take advantage of their customers in any way. No, we've never seen that. There's really no reason why, countless fintechs continue to pop up to try to provide a more equitable offering. No.
Yeah, I'd say definitely the digital era has changed. If you think, the internet wasn't really prevalent until the mid 2000s, I guess. 1999, I was in high school, and I used a little bit, but it was still dial-up modems and everything else for the most part. Maybe somebody had a DSL connection with like a 1 megabit connection, but the digital environment and the access we have to this has completely shifted how we operate as a society, but also the businesses within it.
Well, and especially now the app landscape, and think about the generational differences, right? Because Brad, you and I are old guys now, but you have a young a young child. We have all the kids today are growing up in truly a mobile digital era. So, and they're not the first ones, right? Even the tweens today, the college kids today, they've grown up with this mobile, with the social media, with this app-driven engagement. And so for this generation that it is going to hit like a tidal wave into the working world, especially the restaurant space, there's an expectation there to engage out on your device, right? I don't probably want to see you. I don't want to go into a branch. I don't know what to do with a check or piece of paper. I operate right here. So why would I not be able to bank on my phone, get paid when I want to, right? It's an on-demand generation.
I have a stack of checks that honestly are probably 4 or 5 addresses going back probably 15 years ago, but I still have a stack of checks because I never use them. I mean, why would I order more? I mean, I can sit there, I can transfer money on my phone and just, there it is, you're paid, or send a request out for somebody to pay me at the same time. It's just, yeah, I never want to deal with those same situations again. Or, I mean, bank reconciliation. Shouldn't I just do it immediately?
Well, I couldn't agree more. Yesterday, we're in the process of buying a new home. So as any potential buyer probably should do, they get a home inspection, right? You spend a few hours in the house with someone looking at every nook and cranny. Traditionally probably someone a bit older, someone maybe that is used to more of the check environment. At the end of the session yesterday, they said, "Well, how can I pay you?" "Oh, I'm on Venmo. I'm on PayPal." So the ease and the norm, right, of moving money digitally that we've seen really Venmo kind of push, and now every bank offers it, and PayPal's been doing it for years. That concept, when grandma and grandpa are on Venmo, you start to realize, maybe there's an easier way, right, than cash and checks and the days of old.
No, I agree. No, it's funny. Like, you even go to the grocery store these days, and kind of the non-interaction you want to have in some fashions. You see so many stores implementing self-checkout lines. One, that's a labor cost savings for the business itself, but I think a lot of, especially right now, a lot of the people going into these stores don't want an interaction. It's like, hey, I just want to get something and get out of here. I don't want to talk to anybody. And even my local grocery store, they have an app where you can essentially scan the barcodes as you shop, and it'll populate everything. You pay on your phone, you walk out the door. You don't even have to go to the checkout. It's much easier. And so I guess really with that, and Charlie, if you don't mind me asking you, what kind of tasks do you think will help restaurants kind of plan for the future within the digitized era of the world we live in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as we're moving towards kind of this concept of modernizing payroll, it's just really about having more flexible options for your employees. So again, not paying people on paper checks, because honestly, that's costly for you as a business owner, and that's not really the way people want anymore, right? People don't want to get paid on that paper check. So it's allowing additional tools for people to be financially well, be financially successful. And that can be a whole suite of things. And I don't want to just focus on branch too much here. I really want to focus on the overall broader concept. But with a lot of these new up and coming tools, you can implement one thing and then it allows people to be super flexible in the way they get paid, right? You can push their funds directly to branch or whatever tool you're using, and then people can use those funds via a debit card. They can use that to get cash at an ATM. They can use Apple Pay, Google Pay. It gives them that flexibility right off the bat, basically saying, like, here's your funds right away. Do what you want with them. It's not, here's your paper check. Oh, you got paid on a Friday night and your bank doesn't do mobile deposit, and now you've got to wait till Monday. Sorry. That's the way I used to do things back in my day when I worked at a restaurant. Dating myself here, because mobile deposit was not a thing when I was getting paid on paper check. But I'd pick up my paper check Friday night and I couldn't deposit it till the following Monday. And that was awful for me, right? It's just the money you earned is just sitting there. So allowing your employees to get that pay as soon as they possibly can is the way of the future, regardless of what that looks like. If that's, shooting over the direct deposit, if that's allowing them to get their paycheck a couple of days earlier than they traditionally did, anything you can do to shorten that pay cycle and really modernize and make those payment methods more digital and flexible is going to be the way things go for sure.
Yeah, Charlie, 100%, right? The more that you can get your digital presence, heightened, the better. And for us, that typically comes down to digital direct deposits, right? And so what's unique about where we are today is that historically, as I'm sure is today, Brad, you probably see this more than anyone, the restaurant industry in particular might be the entry point to the working world for a lot of individuals. I know it was for me, right? Yeah. Started at Joey Nova's Pizza Shop, here just west of Minneapolis, was there for for 2 years making pizzas, delivering pies, doing wings in the back, the whole 9 yards. And I was getting a check because I had to, right? And I opened an account with my parents because I didn't have any other option. Well, now, right, again, in terms of being fast, being nimble, and being efficient, what if, right, that employer could actually help me enter the banking world for the first time, right? And that's an opportunity that is now on the table that's really never been there before, right? It is providing essentially that welcome mat to say, look, we can help you do this the right way. It's gonna help us, right? 'Cause it's gonna streamline our payments. It's gonna ease up payroll. But you know what? 16-year-old Blake, this is going to be pretty great for you as well moving forward, and it's going to feel normal. It's going to be mobile. It's going to be native to my iPhone or whatever it is that I'm on at the time, and it's not going to be a major concern, and it's going to be nice and free. Which as a 16-year-old, every single dollar counts. So
I'll never forget. I was in high school and I had my banking debit card. And I went to a gas station. I bought a 20-ounce Coke or something like that. Well, it was like $1.50. Well, that $1.50 Coke ended up costing me like $31.25. Quite simply because I had no access to really understand what my current bank account balance was without calling in and pressing up and putting in my account number. And if you want to learn your account balance, press 1 to learn that I only had 75 cents on my bank account. So, of course, they processed it, but I was hit with an overdraft fee. And now, I just spent $30 on a Coke. And I think that's kind of where the individuals who don't understand how banking process works or just aren't aware of their financial situation in some ways could benefit from just having visibility. I'll never forget that story because I got so frustrated every single time I had an overdraft fee. High school, college, I didn't pay attention to that stuff very good. I didn't know what a credit score was. I didn't know, what any of that really meant because I was focused on, having fun all the time. Awesome, guys. Well, I know great questions, and I appreciate all the insight you've offered from your perspective on the industry. And I guess we've talked about attraction and retention of employees. We've talked about the really how digital banking has leveraged itself within the industry to help employers get employees, but also help them understand their finances better, operationally. And I guess from my perspective, and what I really see employee payments platforms and companies like Branch making an impact on the business side is, one, first and foremost, cash flow. We're talking about the checks floating around in the bank reconciliation. The way I envision this and the benefit for really any restaurant is being able to have monies transition out of your bank account on a quicker basis, as opposed to understanding, hey, I've got $10,000 in my bank. That doesn't mean I have $10,000 I can spend because I have $15,000 in outstanding accounts payable checks floating around, right? Or employees. I think I wouldn't say I was notorious for it, but it happened to me on way too many occasions. I get home from a shift, on a Friday, and I was working in the kitchen. I'd put my paycheck in my back pocket. I'd worked in barbecue restaurants, so my clothes smelled of smoke nonstop. So I'd get back to my house and I'd toss in the washer. Well, I'd forget my check, and I'd have to go back to the business to get my check reprinted. That was an expense on their end, and more importantly, it was time away from the managers actually running the business. So I think operationally, cash flow is a huge bonus, but also just getting rid of the paper checks, getting the money in the hands of the employees so they can manage it themselves, as opposed to the managers managing the checks and hey, I need my paycheck stub, or hey, I washed my check on the washer, all that fun stuff. I'm sure y'all have some horror stories as well from talking with restaurants throughout the country on why, I guess what pain points they have and why they see Branch as the best option to eliminate that live checks. I don't know, do y'all have any you want to share? Or
Yeah, definitely, Brad. Like you said, that cost savings and cash flow piece is definitely a huge part of it. And ultimately, a lot of this shift is saving people time and money, especially those managers. one story we just heard from a customer who owned a handful of different locations. He was managing kind of all their tips and their payroll process. And so he was actually driving between all these different locations to pay people their tips, but then also to like pay them their paper checks every single week. So he was driving back and forth between like the bank, their main office where they printed the paper checks, and then all their different restaurant locations. And after they implemented Branch, he called us and he was like, "You saved us money on cutting paper checks." And then he goes, "Also, I suddenly have 10 free hours in my week." Because that's how much time he's spending just driving to pay people. And he was like mind blown. He's like, "Now I can actually like do things to better our business and make customers want to come here even more." And that was the coolest thing to hear. Like 10, who doesn't want 10 free hours back in their week? I mean, that was just amazing to hear there was that big of a time savings on his behalf.
No, that's huge. And I'm sure that every single restaurant he went into is like the employees are waiting. It's 3:00. Where's my check? Awesome. Well, Blake, Charlie, I definitely appreciate the conversation today. Thanks for bringing all of your knowledge to the table. And really, it's cool to learn more about the impact that Branch is having on not only our clients who are getting engaged with it, but also just the industry in general. Thanks for joining us, and everybody listening in. I appreciate you joining this week's RASI Tip Share, and we look forward to our next topic. I believe next week we're going to be working with our partner Efficient Hire and outlining the potential impact that work opportunity tax credits bring to our clients as well. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day.